For this film, I'm going to do expanded form of decimals. And remember, expanded form is where you take the numbers and you stretch them out, and you tell the place value of each thing, and you add the pluses and the zeros, okay? So to start off, I'm going to put each of these in a house. So I have this first number here. And this is known as 5 2/10. So I'm going to take and write the expanded form. So I'm going to start and tell the value of this 5. This is 5 wholes. You may see it written such as this, or you might also see it written as this. Either way is acceptable. The next number, I'm going to mark it out so I know I've already done it. I've already messed with it. Let's move on. The next one is 2/10. There's a 2, it's in the tenths place, so therefore it is 2/10. If you get confused how to write this, just come underneath and put a 0 for everything before it, and then write the 2 where it is, okay? And then you're not worried about any other place at the moment. So this would be 2/10. Now, if I were to take these, line them up, add them up, and remember you can put a 0 here to help you, it should add back to the same thing we started with. And we started with 5 2/10. This is 5 20/100ths. But remember that that is equivalent to 5 2/10. So they're the same, even though one reads 5 2/10 and one reads 5 20/100ths. This would be like having $5 and 2 dimes or $5 and 20 pennies. 20 pennies and 2 dimes, they're the same. You just make this with more pieces, okay? All right, let's go to our next one. Let's put it in a house. Here's my wholes. Here's my tenths, and I have no hundredths, but I'll go ahead and write it just to make sure we're okay there. Now, a misconception I see a lot is people just want to write 35 here. You still have to break this 35 apart. If I said write this in expanded form, you would not just write 35. You would say, oh, there are 3 10s, which is 30, and there are 5 1s. And if I took 30 plus 5 and added it back up, that would get me 35. Then I see my 2 in the tenths. Remember, write the 0, and you don't have to write double zeros, just 1 0 is fine. And that's a 2, that equals 2/10. If I were to stack these back together, 30 plus 5 is 35, and then I could say plus 2/10. And that equals 35 2/10. Okay, let's do the next one down. Let's put this in a house. This time we do have a hundredth, but we have 0 wholes. So you probably will not see it written like this. You will probably just see it start with what's in the tenths place. So we can get rid of this. So my first number is 9. So this would be 9/10. Mark it out, make sure I've got it. And then the next thing I would see is 6/100ths. Now be careful, because if you write it like this is going to be 6/10. You want it to say 6/100ths. So remember, everything ahead of it turns to zeros, and that will give me 6/100ths. So you could see it written like that, or you might see it written like this. If I were to stack them up, 0.9, 9/10ths, 0.06, 6/100ths. Remember to add the 0 to help you. It doesn't change anything, it just makes it read differently. Then I'm going to add it up, 0 plus 6, 9 plus 0, drop your decimal, always, always, 0 and 0. 96/100ths brings me back to the number they asked me to write in expanded form. Okay, let's move down to the next one. Now we have wholes and hundredths, so let's put this in here to help us out. Okay, so I have 3 wholes. So I'm going to write that just as a 3. And then I have 2 hundredths. Now notice there's nothing in the tenths, so don't think that you have to write like this. You don't. A lot of times you won't even see that. They're just going to skip that spot and go to the spot that has a number in it. And the number in this spot is 2 for 2 hundredths. So remember, I can make everything in front of it zeros to help me write what 2 hundredths looks like. The only place I should have a number other than 0 is in the digit I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 2. I've already done the 3. There's nothing in the tenths. So now I'm going to write 2 hundredths. Let's stack it to see if I'm okay. 3 wholes. Now notice there's 0 wholes in this one. And then we have 0, 2. So to help me out, I can add a decimal. 0, that doesn't change nothing. I have $3 or I have $3. It's the same both ways. It just looks written a little differently. 0 plus 2, 0 plus 0, and 3. That gets me back to 3 and 2 hundredths. Okay, we got one more, the mother of them all. It has a hundredth and a whole number, a multi-digit whole number. So remember, if I asked you to write 14 as a whole number, you would not just come over here and write 14. You would have to break it apart. And we know 14 is made up of 1 10 and 4 ones, okay? So I got rid of those. The next thing I see is 2 tenths. Remember, I'm only worried about the 2, so everything else becomes zeros. So I can write 2 tenths, and I don't have to worry about the 1 yet. Okay, now let's worry about the 1. And it's 1 hundredth. So remember, the only thing that's not going to be a 0 is that 1. So I got 0 wholes, I have 0 tenths, and then I have 1 hundredth. And let's come over here. Can I come out here? I'm running out of space. And write 10 plus 4. That gives me 14. I'm going to add my decimal, so it looks like 14 wholes. And then I'm going to add 2 tenths, decimal, 0 wholes, 2, and 1 hundredth, 0, decimal, 0, 1. Let's add this guy up, and he gets me right back to what I started with, which is 14 and 21 hundredths. So put in a house, mark the digits off as you're breaking them apart into the value of each digit. And remember, whatever digit you're talking about, that's the only thing that will not be a 0. And those are my tips. And you got this.